11 rebounds and 8 assists. Draymond Green chipped in with 18 points. Game 2's Thursday night in Minneapolis. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
For those special gifts Mom deserves this Mother's Day. Inspire her inner chef with must-haves for her kitchen, wellness essentials for her fitness routine, and jewelry for her perfect night out. You can save 15% on some of your finds and earn Kohl's Cash. Find Mom's perfect gift in time for Mother's Day at Kohl's and Kohl's.com. Select styles. Offer valid through May 11th. Kohl's Cash and coupons do not apply to Sephora. Exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for more details.
Welcome to Staples.
Hi, I hear Staples prints it all.
Oh, you bet. Posters, banners.
Can you print it all for Father's Day?
Oh, of course. Photo gifts like canvas prints, photo puzzles.
Can you print it all for graduation?
Sure can. Custom cards and invites.
Can you print a huge banner with the grad's picture?
Oh, definitely.
Even an embarrassing baby picture?
Oh, those are the best kind.
I know, right?
Print it all for dads and grads at Staples. And right now, get 40% off custom cards, invites, and photo gifts. N75 exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
If you want to be an alpha,
you've got to get the winning edge.
It's kind of a necessary ingredient if you want to lead the pack. So mark your territory
with the winning edge.
You're in the big leagues. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, off and running in today's edition of Football Full Circle, right here on the SportsGrid Radio Network, Sirius Channel 159, Lisi and Wetzel talking NFL for the next hour. It was a little quiet, Scotty, at the start of the week. We didn't think we would have big news, right? And all of a sudden, you wake up today and the Pittsburgh Steelers deal George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys. And could that just potentially open up the door for good old Aaron Rodgers to walk into Mike Tomlin's office and say, guess what? I'm ready to play in 2025.
Unless it's a package deal, I was thinking just the opposite. I was thinking this is Aaron Rodgers saying, you know what, I'm not coming. So if that's the case, we're stuck with Mason Rudolph. And if that's the case, then we might as well just download and go get a top 5, top 10 at worst pick for next season. I'm not the biggest George Pickens fan. I think he's a malcontent. This, to me, is addition by subtraction. It was pointed out, and it's true. You know, they hold on to him, Joe. They're going to get, and they lose him next year, they're going to get a compensatory pick, right around a third-round pick, right? So, I mean, they sped up the process, yes, but why not hold on to him for a year? If you really don't want to keep him, let him walk, get a third-round compensatory pick, and then boom, you're breaking even here. So they clearly wanted to get rid of this dude. Unless it's Aaron Rodgers saying, listen, if I'm coming, I'm bringing my top 2, 3, 4 wide receiver buddies with me. But otherwise, why would you do that? To me, this is a sign that says Rodgers isn't coming.
Well, that was the second question, because there were reports that now George Pickens is gone. Alan Lazard, his good buddy with the New York Jets, is all of a sudden going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. And then let's just assume that's potentially the case. Is this any different in terms of Pittsburgh if Aaron Rodgers walks through the door than what the Jets had last year? Like my point is, if you're Pittsburgh and you're not sure whether or not you're a contender, you don't get rid of George Pickens. George Pickens and DK Metcalf potentially with above average quarterback play make you a better contender than without George Pickens in that lineup. Old man journeyman Alan Lazard and old man Aaron Rodgers walking into the locker room as the savior for the organization. There's no difference between this current situation with Pittsburgh and what they had last year with the New York Jets. You can argue, Scott, that potentially the Jets might have had a younger wide receiver core and potentially had more upside than now what the Steelers have with just DK Metcalf.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially with Devontae Adams, after they picked him up, the Jets wide receiving core was better last year than what the Pittsburgh Steelers would have had, right? But could you imagine Pickens and Metcalf in the same locker room? You know, maybe Metcalf will play second fiddle to a certain extent with Tyler Lockett, veteran player, been in Seattle for a long time. Okay. He's not playing second fiddle to George Pickens. No way. And then George Pickens thinks he's the greatest thing in the world Meanwhile, he couldn't catch a cold, butt naked in Alaska. That would have been disastrous. I think that's Tomlin saying, listen, I've been down this road before. I've dealt with all these bozos. I'm not doing that again at 50 years old or whatever he is. So, to me, like I said, you could have held on to him, and you could still bring in Alan Lazard if it is an Aaron Rodgers thing and he wants to bring his buddy, right? You can never have too many wide receivers. It's not like Alan Lazard's a number one wide receiver. I don't even think he's a number two wide receiver, right? So, I don't think it could have been, you got to get rid of this guy because I want to bring my guy in. I think it's the other way. I think it's Rodgers saying, no, I'm not coming.
All right, well, let me ask you this, though. If you're Pittsburgh, why didn't you make this move then on draft day to potentially get more bang for the buck, right? Like, I mean, Dallas gives up what? In 26, a third-round draft pick. They send a 2027 draft pick to the Steelers, and they get back a 2027 sixth-round pick. So really, it's basically a third-round pick next year. If you would have did this on draft day a couple of weeks ago to potentially one of these teams looking to trade up for a wide receiver or take a wide receiver that were in desperate need, you might have gotten a second-round pick for them in this upcoming draft. You could have solidified yourself with a plug-and-play player this year as opposed to waiting for next year. And here's the other thing, too. We know that Pittsburgh potentially wants to run the football, right? They take on now, a new mentality with Caleb Johnson from Iowa. They get rid of Najee Harris that moves on to the Chargers. Still want to run the football with DK Metcalf and George Pickens. You have two of the best blocking wide receivers in the game. Why would you get rid of one of them to put yourself at a disadvantage?
Because he's a dope. That's why. I mean, all the guy does is complain, get personal foul penalties. You remember Mike Tomlin at the end of the year telling the world that the kid needs to grow up? You don't do that in the public. You might do that behind the scenes, but he did it twice. Tomlin did last year with this guy. I think it was Tomlin just being fed up. It is a good point. Why do it now, especially in a draft which there really weren't that many great wide receivers, right? So you would have thought that they would have been able to get rid of him draft day. But maybe something happened. Maybe he complained. Maybe it was just one more thing, and the Steelers just said, that's it, final straw. We're done with this guy. Maybe they held out for more. They were holding out for a second-round pick, and no one would go there. So they finally settled in on a third-round pick. It is a little weird, but I still think it's addition by subtraction. So every time I turned on a Steeler game, this guy was dropping passes left and right. I mean, just let me look at his box score number. He wasn't that good. He's a classic example of a guy who thinks he's great and he's not. Simple as that for me.
The odds got slightly better for them to make the playoffs. They went from, I believe, 154 yesterday to plus 150. You look at the win total for Pittsburgh right now. Over 8.5 is now plus 120, Scott. Still juiced to the under at minus 140. So that's the Pittsburgh side of things. For Dallas, I've heard throughout the morning that this makes Dallas an immediate contender.
Oh,
I never thought that Dallas had problems on the offensive side of the ball. We knew that Dallas could score points with Dak Prescott as long as he's there. It's the defense, Scotty. This team is not going to get to 8 wins until the defense gets better, and this doesn't help you in any capacity.
Yeah. I mean, they're making George Pickens to be the greatest thing in sliced bread. I mean, the guy had 59 receptions last year, on a team that did want to throw the football a little bit, right? I mean, where was he at the end of the year when they're fighting for a playoff spot or even in the postseason? I don't think he's that good, Joe. I just don't. What do you have? 3 touchdown receptions all year. 3. And that, to me, is the mark. You can have receptions. All right, we'll throw the football to you because you went 2 yards over the line of scrimmage and the defensive back is playing 5 yards back. I don't care about that, even though he only had 59. It's the touchdown reception. Where is he in the red zone? Can you count on him in the red zone? Can he take a 10-yard pass and go 90? All the answers are like, no. So is he going to be able to fit in down in Dallas? Maybe. CeeDee Lamb, he's got his money already, so he should be content on that. He is working on the last year of a contract, which theoretically is a good, position to be in if you're the team, because this guy wants to do well heading into free agency next year. But you're right, it's the defensive side for Dallas. I'm not worried about the offense. And if I am, it's the running back position. It's not the wide receivers or tight ends.
So let me ask you this then, Scott. If we were to take Dak Prescott's passing totals, right, which we looked at throughout the week, 3,800.5 at minus 114 either way. George Pickens helps him get closer to that. I mean, there's no guarantee, right? I mean, we believe as long as he's playing 17 games, he should blow through this number. So does this add that and help you make that bet a little bit quicker than maybe last week?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely does, right? Theoretically, this is a great spot for Pickens because now he's not a number one, right? But could he be a number two, maybe? Okay, yeah, but he was being put in a number one spot in Pittsburgh, and he wasn't that. So now he's got CeeDee Lamb getting all the attention. So now he's going to have the single coverage. So he should get decent numbers, and that should help Prescott. I would think so.
Yeah, we'll see. We're just getting started here on Football Full Circle. We'll dive more into the Dallas numbers. We'll also look at the make and miss playoffs. We'll have some parlays to put together right here on Football Full Circle. Coming back with more AFC and NFC odds. Keep it where it is.
4 out of 5 scientists agree it's smarter to be on SportsGrid. And we're pretty sure that one scientist is still a virgin. He just gives that vibe. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. Police arrested about 30 pro-Palestinian protesters who occupied a University of Washington engineering building and demanded the school break ties with Boeing. Students from the group Super UW moved into the interdisciplinary engineering building in Seattle on Monday evening. Campus police worked with Seattle PD to clear the building around 10:30 p.m. Travelers that have not obtained a real ID by today's deadline received reassurances that they will be able to fly after additional identity checks. Head of Homeland Security Kristi Noem says 81% of travelers already have IDs that comply with the requirements. She said security checkpoints will also be accepting passports and tribal identification. LAPD arrested a man after crashing a car into the front gate at Jennifer Aniston's house. The Friends star was reportedly home at the time early Monday afternoon. No word on the man's identity or any charges as of Tuesday. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
When you switch to Progressive and bundle your home and auto, you could save hundreds, and that's a surprising amount of money.
Whoa, that's like farmer's market money.
That's like give me a gallon of that locally sourced raw honey money.
That's certified organic heirloom tomatoes in every imaginable color except red money.
That's let's get 2 pounds of pink oyster mushrooms money. I'm not even sure I like pink oyster mushrooms.
Guess it's time to find out, because you could save hundreds when you switch to Progressive and bundle. Then the world is your pink oyster mushroom. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
There's something you should know and always remember. SportsGrid does not increase luck. We're your unfair advantage for the latest sports gaming information. If you're looking for luck, go find a horseshoe. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, back on Football Full Circle, talking about the trade from George Pickens from Pittsburgh to Dallas. Does it elevate Dallas into a playoff contender and, more importantly, a championship contender? Scott and I don't believe that right here, right now. Does it elevate Dak Prescott and potentially his passing totals and touchdowns? That's the conversation we're going to have. 3,800.5 is his number right now on FanDuel. Scott and I believe as long as he plays 17 games, he should get through that number. Now, Scott, they don't have him listed. But if I were to tell you Dak Prescott to potentially throw 35 touchdown passes, where do you figure that line is? Do you figure it's in the area of 8 to 10 to 1? They have Cam Ward at 15 to 1 to throw for 35.
Wow. Well, you don't know what you're getting out of Cam Ward, right? So as long as Dak, he's hit that number twice in his career, including 2 years ago. So The last full season, he had 36. So he is capable. He had 37 another season. You got Schottenheimer coming in, trying to make a name for himself, right? All the criticism on why he's the head coach. So up 20, fourth quarter. Are they still throwing the football just to give Dak some bigger numbers? Maybe. So can he get there? Yeah. What would be the payoff? I don't know if it'd be 10-1. I think it would be closer to like maybe 4-1.
Really? See, now this is a
Well,
conversation.
what's the normal number going to be? His normal number is going to be what, 27, 28?
You're right. So let's talk about this, and I'll give you some comparable, veteran quarterbacks, and this is why I think it's intriguing. You got Lamar, obviously, as the front runner, right, at plus 310. This is for 35 touchdown passes in 2025. He had 41 last year. Pat Mahomes, plus 360. Josh Allen, plus 410. Okay, you say, all right, those are the three best quarterbacks potentially in all of NFL. We don't have Joe Burrow listed. Why? Because I'm sure there's exposure. Sam Darnold's 12-1. Jalen Hurts, Scotty, 13-1. Now, I understand they want to run the football with Saquon Barkley, but he's still possible. With both of those wide receivers, and now Philly just potentially re-signs Dallas Goedert, which obviously makes their tight end position stronger heading into the season with Goddard coming back. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, knowing that Barkley can catch the football out of the backfield. Jalen Hurts at 13-1? I mean, so do you think Dak would be more in the area of Lamar, Pat, and Josh? Or is he more in the area in between Sam Darnold and Jalen Hurts that have 12 and 13-1 respectively?
Yeah, I think he's closer to Lamar and those guys. I mean, he's better than Sam Darnold, right? I mean, the only 5 guys threw for 35 last year. Sam Darnold was one of them, along with Goff, Jackson, and Mayfield, and Joey B. So, but I would be 10-1 for a guy who's done it already twice. And you pick up Pickens, which, for better or worse, people are going to think that's going to be much, much better for him, which, obviously it is. So, I tell you what, if it was 10-1, I'd be all over that. I'm thinking, give me some of the other guys. Like, what are some of the lower numbers?
There aren't any. I wish there's nobody listed. That's what I find crazy, is that there's no Joe Burrow. There's no Jared Goff. There's no Matt Stafford. This is all we have in terms of the market. Lamar, Pat, Josh, Darnold, Jalen Hurts, Cam Ward. 40 touchdowns doesn't even have Burrow, Stafford, or Goff. You want Josh Allen to throw for 40 is 11-1. Jalen Hurts to throw for 40 is 31-1. Cam Ward to throw for 40, 34-1. Mahomes is 10-1.
Now, Mahomes, it could be. Because you get both wide receivers back. But I can understand why they wouldn't put a no up there, because then you'd gamble and say, okay, I'll take my chances. Maybe the guy gets hurt. So I can understand why they wouldn't put a no bet up there, but I don't understand why they wouldn't put a yes bet up there.
Yeah.
Unless they can't figure out the numbers.
So if I gave you a number on Dak Prescott.
6-1. 6-1. 6.5-1. 35 is not that many. Right? It's not like,
so
like 5 guys did do it last year.
If I gave you Dak Prescott 15-1 to throw for 40, would you take it?
What happened to 35? Now we're jumping up to 40, okay?
Well, the 40 market is, I'm just curious, because the 40 market has Allen at 11-1, Sam Darnold at 30-1. So you figure that Dak would be in the middle of Darnold and obviously Josh Allen. So I'm trying to price it. If I gave you 16, 17-1, do you think it's doable now with George Pickens in that lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have done it with or without Pickens. Listen, if Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield can throw for 41 touchdown passes last year, then Dak could as well. So I would take that. Anything over 10-1.
It's possible. All right, here we go. You ready? My first make the playoffs parlay. Juicy, Scotty. Very juicy. It's a 4-teamer. I got Cincinnati. I got Tampa Bay. I got the Arizona Cardinals. And I got the New York Jets at plus 42.98.
That's your favorite one. That's the one that you really think seriously that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
Wow. You got 2 stiffs in there. You got the Jets and Arizona. You doubled down on stupidity on that one. Wow. All right.
I love Arizona this year. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I know.
I
And
don't
you
know
hate
why.
Kyler Murray. I love both quarterbacks that you hate. I don't love Kyler Murray. I'll agree with you there. I love Justin Fields. But I actually think they have the pieces to potentially challenge, not just for a wild card. They can make the playoffs by winning the division.
All right. You want my best one or my long shot to make best one? How's this going to lose? Buffalo minus 750, Eagles minus 420, your Bengals, the Bungles minus 166, and the Houston Texans minus 142. That pays plus 332.
Not bad. Not bad. We'll talk about it on the backside about potentially which team could be on the outside looking in. Could it be Buffalo? Or is it more the Houston Texans without their former OC, Bobby Slowick? We'll come back and talk about it right here on Football Full Circle.
There's smart and there's not smart. Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Keep it here and win. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
In 1959, the Dodgers held Roy Campanella Night. A crowd of over 93,000 people showed up at the LA Coliseum as the Yankees beat the Dodgers 6-2 in an exhibition game. Campanella was paralyzed in a car accident in 1958. And was a lifetime .283 hitter and belted over 260 career home runs. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
New artificial intelligence research at the Institute of Science Tokyo intends to revolutionize the creation of perfume.
The sweet smell of petunias.
AI programmed with mass spectrometer profiles of essential oils rapidly creates new scents.
Subtle hints of desperation eau de toilette.
With user-defined odor descriptors.
Slightly burnt toast cologne.
Eliminating trial and error.
The clean woody scent of my laundry basket.
AI streamlining labor-intensive specialized perfuming means scalable production and unique fragrances.
I call it eau de sweaty tapeworm.
Follow me at Capalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Carver and Lisi.
50% on Friday and 25% on Saturday. I mean, what are we talking about here, Carver? Rain.
Joe, 50% they're going to play.
Telling me it's coming down like cats and dogs now.
Yeah,
and
right now. Right now.
You know what? I'm done with you.
Right now.
I'm done. You know what?
Can the Braves score some runs, Joe? Can the Braves? Because the other guys scored a no-hitter.
It's Carver and Lisi with Mike Carver and Joe Lisi. Weekdays 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. There comes a point when the chips are down. To coin a phrase. When the only thing you can do is stop and wait. Do you want to face that moment prepared or rely on luck? Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, continuing the conversation, we left off talking about our favorite parlays to make the playoffs. Scott had a pretty good one. He had what? The Bills, the Eagles, the Bengals, and who was the last one? The Texans, Scotty?
Houston. Yeah, Houston.
So
they're still in a bad division. So they're actually giving you a pretty good number, minus 142 on that. I mean, Jacksonville, are they going to be any better this year than last year? Maybe, but, Colts still stink. And, so Tennessee's not going to make the postseason, right? So how is it Houston not going to win that division? Minus 142 on that one. That's like a decent one to play straight, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
it pays 332.
Well, here's you asked me where the liability is, right?
Yeah.
So let's look at it. Obviously, I think Cincinnati and the Eagles are a lock. Buffalo, I don't even if James Cook decides to walk out tomorrow, there's still potentially the ability to win 11 games in the East, right? They own the Miami Dolphins for the most part. They can go toe-to-toe with the Patriots. Jets might be difficult one game, but at the end of the day, they can probably go 5-1 in the division. Houston is interesting, and the reason why I say that is we saw a little bit of a regression from C.J. Stroud, right? Bobby Slowick 2 years ago could have wrote his ticket anywhere, could have been a head coach potentially if he would have taken a job and walked out after 1 year as the offensive coordinator. He decides to stay. They regress. They became more of a, I want to say, balanced offense with Joe Mixon. He gets fired at the end of the year. They hire then the Rams tight end coach and passing game coordinator, Nick Caley. Slowick goes to the Dolphins as passing game coordinator. They lose Laramie Tunsil. Is there the potential maybe for Houston to regress to similar what we saw of Jacksonville a couple of years ago, where maybe they start fast and maybe they're just an 8 or a 9 win football team and on the outside looking in?
Yeah, in that division, Joe, though, right? I mean, are they going to go maybe 4-2? And I think that's being generous as far as losses are concerned. I mean, you're looking at 5-1 in that division, but we'll say 4-2. Honestly, is Tennessee going to win the division? No, right? So let's just vote. So now you're down to the Colts with Danny Nichols and Anthony Richardson, who stinks. Jacksonville would be the one, but then they just released Gabe Davis today. You saw that story. Right. So, I know they got Hunter and they want to team him up with Brian Thomas. That's a pretty good 1-2 punch, I will say. But I still think they're the class of the division. I think it was just a natural, first step, great. First year, second step, take a little bit of a step backwards, but they still made the playoffs, still won the division, still the same record. And I think third year they bounce back and take that next step and be a really good football team to the point of winning that division. So if you ask me which one would be the one for me would probably be the Bungles. As much as I like them, but is the defense any better this year than it was last year? No, right? I mean, they lost a lot of games. Patriots at home to open up the season. They lost a lot of bad games, but if the defense hasn't improved, and I don't think it has that much, could you see the same scenario playing out in that division and the AFC? Absolutely. They would be the one for me.
All right, here's another one that I put together that I think has life. You ready? This one is a little out there. It's again got two locks, we think, and two potentially maybe outside dogs. So Cincinnati and the Eagles to make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Then the Jaguars and Commanders, that pays plus 998.
Jaguars and Commanders. That's not too crazy. I got Jacksonville in one of mine that we'll get to in a little bit. You got two. I do think Washington's going to come back to the pack. I know, but they won a lot of close games last year.
8-9 wins.
Well, yeah. I mean, they won so many close games last year, so many that it's just like now they got a tougher schedule. To think they're going to get all the breaks that they got last year. NFC is a little tougher. That's the one I worry about Washington, even though I love Jaden Daniels.
All right, what's your second best one to make the playoffs? Then we'll do the miss. Go ahead.
Right. All right. This one also is going to pay about 9-1, 909. L.A. Rams, minus 180, like that. Tampa Bay, which to me is still the class of the NFC South. Chargers at basically pick 'em, minus 114. Little surprise. That's a really good price. And then Green Bay at minus 105.
Ooh, I'm shocked about the Green Bay price. That's a little fishy, and we could come back. Why is Green Bay being priced at minus 105 to make the playoffs? Seems like a hook to me. We'll come back and talk about it right here on Football Full Circle.
The winning edge. You've got it. But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us. But we're working on that. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. Major League Baseball. In 10 innings, the Marlins surprised the Dodgers 5-4 the final. The Rangers beat the Red Sox 6-1 at Fenway Park. The Phillies doubled up the Rays 8-4. The Yankees pounded the Padres 12-3. The Guardians and Nationals split a doubleheader. Washington took the first game 10-9. The Guardians scored a 9-1 victory in the nightcap. In 10 innings, the Braves beat the Reds 2-1. The Twins over the Orioles 9-1. The Royals cut by the White Sox 4-3. The Brewers 4-3 winners at home over the Astros. Astros in 11 innings. The Giants beat the Cubs 14-5. San Francisco scored 9 runs at the top of the 11th. The Mariners beat the A's 5-3. Arizona 5-1 winners at home over the Mets. The Angels pounded the Blue Jays 8-3. The Cardinals nipped the Pirates 2-1. The Tigers at Colorado postponed. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters or condo with Progressive. That's the Sports Grid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Progressive knows when you own a boat or RV, it's like you're automatically on vacation, even if you're actually a marriage counselor in the middle of couples therapy. But in your mind, you're camping in Acadia, puttering around Frenchman Bay. Your boat and RV are both protected. You're lobster drenched in butter and... Uh-oh, did your clients just notice you weren't listening? Quick, do the thing where you just repeat back exactly what they said, but as a question. They bought it. Now back to Maine, earning an automatic discount bundling your boat or RV with your home or auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
It's me, Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. I see those dry elbows, baby. But don't worry, get moisturized right in the shower. So hydrated you can skip the lotion after.
Don't want to see it dry no more. Skin so moisturized with body wash.
Look at you now. No more dry skin. Your skin gets the moisture it craves with
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
You're listening to Sports Grid, spreading the winning edge far and wide. Terrestrial, internet, TV, satellite, and don't forget our mobile app. Face it, the winning edge is everywhere. Somewhere there's a squirrel frustrated he can't get a phone. This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, continuing the Make the Playoffs parlay that Scott and I both put together, and this is great on FanDuel. If you haven't seen it, go to playoffs. They have make and miss. They have a ton of numbers for all 32 teams. The good part is, even if you get negative and minus money, like Philadelphia minus 420 to potentially make the playoffs, or Kansas City as well, you can parlay them with 2 or 3 or 4 teams and get plus money. So Scott's last one, I believe, what had Green Bay in it and minus 105, the Rams, Scotty, and who else?
Tampa Bay minus 140 and the Chargers minus 114. Pays 909.
Look, that's not bad. Yeah. It's not bad. You know, when you think about it, and the exposure for both Green Bay and LA, in my opinion, obviously their quarterbacks, Stafford getting older, you know, can he make it through 17 games? As long as he's healthy, they have a great shot. They won the division last year, back-to-back 10-7 seasons. They beat Minnesota in the playoff game. On the flip side, when you look at Green Bay, can Jordan Love stay healthy? That is a pretty intriguing number when you think about how good Green Bay could be when they're hitting on all cylinders, right? Why are they getting such a discount behind the likes of Washington and Tampa Bay and even the Rams when you think about it? Significantly, it's not, I mean, Green Bay's minus 105. You look at LA is minus 180, Tampa Bay minus 140. I figured they'd be at least in the area minus 120, 130, Scott.
Yeah, doesn't make much sense. I mean, you know, you throw in Minnesota could take a major step back. You don't know about the Bears, and the Lions will be good, obviously, but it's not like you're in a division where you have 3 other monster teams. I mean, minus 105. And again, this is not to win the division. This is just to make the playoffs. So, I think a lot of these numbers are pretty good, Joe. I mean, Tampa Bay minus 40. Who's not winning? Tampa Bay's not winning that division.
I know.
Atlanta, maybe Atlanta, right? But that's definitely not going to be Carolina or the Saints. So that's halfway decent. Chargers made the playoffs last year. Why wouldn't they make the playoffs this year? Minus 114. So
it's a great
I like that one.
So in all 3 of my to make the playoffs parlay, I keyed the Eagles and Bengals. So all 3, right? The 42-50 straight through the 990 in this one. So Eagles and Bengals, to me, those are the locks. I think both of those teams will make it. Then I sprinkled in the Chargers with Herbert and knowing Harbaugh in year 2, and I took a long shot, the Panthers. That pays $11.60, Scott. So if you're saying what team outside of Tampa Bay potentially could be that team, yeah, maybe it could be Atlanta. We don't think it's going to obviously be Kellen Moore in New Orleans, but Carolina has a good nucleus. I'd rather take the shot, especially when you look at their odds to make the playoffs, plus 245, Scott.
Yeah. All right. That's not bad. Obviously, the Chargers I do like. Carolina would be the outlier. But, one of these last place teams is going to win the division. And they don't have to win the division. They can get in as a wild card, although chances are you're probably only going to get one team out of there. But you never know. That's not bad. All right. Here's my real long shot.
Go ahead.
Jacksonville plus 160.
Okay.
We're buying the Ben Johnson Kool-Aid. Chicago plus 160 and change, 168.
Mm-hmm.
Really drinking the Kool-Aid. Dallas plus 150 and change.
Okay.
And then you ready?
Mm-hmm.
The New York Football Giants at plus 820. That little parlay pays 227 to 1.
All right, 227 to 1. Where's the exposure? All right, I like it. So where do you feel is the weakest leg out of those? If you're looking at it objectively. Come on.
The problem is I got two out of the NFC East, and one of them isn't Washington or Philadelphia. So is the NFC East going to get three teams, or am I counting on Philadelphia, Washington to come back to the pack? I'm counting on them coming back to the pack. Maybe an injury to hurt, something along those lines, right? So I like Jacksonville, new head coach or whatever. Maybe they can get in. Chicago, second year for Caleb Williams. The offense should be better. They really improved their offensive line. You got the genius in there now. So I like that. It would be one of the two between Dallas and the Giants. Again, because you're asking basically three teams to come out of the NFC East. Could happen.
Okay.
But
Could happen. All right, let's turn our attention to miss the playoffs, Scotty. Here's my first one. Okay? I got to cast the usual suspects. Patriots. Okay? Now, Patriots, I believe were, let me just give you the Patriots, minus
Crazy
205.
number.
Minus 205 with a 7.5 win total. Are Miami Dolphins at minus 220? I think there's absolutely no shot that McDaniel even makes it through the year. Atlanta, minus 172. And I'm going to give you one that's got plus money, and I might get bashed. San Francisco at plus 140. That pays $890, Scott. Too many question marks with the 49ers. Is Christian McCaffrey good? Is Kittle healthy? Is IU good? I'm not so sure. I don't know. I'd rather take that shot that they missed the playoffs.
Yeah, I like that. Traded away Debo, right? So one less weapon. They got the Brock Purdy nonsense hanging over their head. I know they said they want to re-sign him, but they haven't yet. So this could be a make or break year. I could see that happening. I could. All right,
That's
how about this one?
890.
It's 890. That's not bad.
Okay.
All right. All right. New England. I got a four-legger here. Same thing. Minus 205 on New England. How are the Patriots making the playoffs in the AFC? I'm amazed their over-under is 7.5. I mean, I don't see them being 8 and 9. I really don't. But New England minus 205. Raiders minus 375. Tennessee minus 650. And you're going to like this one. Arizona minus 170. That plays plus 290.
So you're dead against Arizona. So I think your liability is Arizona. You know that. I expect them to really overexceed expectations. But now we're still. You know why I like these bets, Scott? Because these bets are year long, right? So it's not even win totals. It's hey, they could have a good winning record, but if they're not as good as some of the other teams in their conference, they're going to miss out. So I like this better than just potentially, the win totals or the divisional odds or conference odds. This gives you an added mix where something could break your way, and through the tiebreakers, you still have a shot to potentially win the bet. All right, here's my bet number 2. Miss the playoffs. I'm going to take the two teams that traded today, Dallas and Pittsburgh. I think both have no shot, with or without George Pickens, to make the playoffs. I think Tomlin potentially could be dead man walking. I think he's punched himself out. I think there's no identity of this team. How does the team have any continuity heading into this year when you don't even know who your quarterback is? And then that quarterback, if it's Aaron Rodgers, is going to walk on his white horse into the locker room. Dallas, I'm not buying Schottenheimer. I'm not buying their defense. How about this? Detroit and Miami, Scott. Pays 10-13. I'm not suggesting Detroit is terrible, but when you're up at a pinnacle and you haven't broken through for a team like Detroit, I know they have the playmakers, but there's the potential with a new OC in DC to potentially just implode.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's the one, right? That's what it's getting, and that's what it's making it close to 10-1. So could it happen? Hey, I mean, you look at it this way. You look at the NFC's getting better. You got to figure, Green Bay's going to be halfway decent, despite what these odds say, right? You hope Minnesota does well and they don't, take too much of a step backwards, and you get the progression of the Chicago Bears. So division, you don't win. Wild card, you got Philadelphia, you got Washington, you got the team. It could happen. It would take a little something, but I got them in one of mine as well, so it's a possibility.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk more Missed the Playoff parlays coming right back on Football Full Circle.
We're not saying every SportsGrid listener is a legend, but you might start thinking about who's going to play you in the movie. Just saying. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. LAPD arrested a man after crashing a car into the front gate at Jennifer Aniston's house. The Friends star was reportedly home at the time early Monday afternoon. No word on the man's identity or any charges as of Tuesday. Police arrested about 30 pro-Palestinian protesters who occupied a University of Washington engineering building and demanded the school break ties with Boeing. Students from the group Super UW moved into the interdisciplinary engineering building in Seattle on Monday evening. Campus police worked with Seattle PD to clear the building around 10:30 p.m. Travelers that have not obtained a real ID by today's deadline received reassurances that they will be able to fly after additional identity checks. Head of Homeland Security Kristi Noem says 81% of travelers already have IDs that comply with the requirements. She said security checkpoints will also be accepting passports and tribal identification. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like fences. A house with a big yard and a white picket fence was always the dream. But then you saw the price to install a fence and you're wondering if the color is driving the price up. Nobody ever dreams of a beige or a gray picket fence, right? So maybe those fences are cheaper. But no, they're not. Then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds and make all your dreams of a fence come true. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. GI Bill, SkillBridge, and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
Remember when you were thankful you could just get AM and FM?
Things have progressed.
Now even an app on your phone can give you a 21st century thrill with that little drop of heaven called
the deposit notification.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, back on Football Full Circle, talking about the Missed the Playoff odds. Scotty, your last one had, which was the last one that you put in?
That was the one, my kind of the best one. We had New England, Raiders, Tennessee, and Arizona. So my next one pays.
Right.
I'll give you the teams first. New England minus 205. I doubled down on the Patriots. I think that's a great number. Unless something crazy happens, I just don't see the Patriots making the playoffs. I'm with you with Pittsburgh minus 2-1. Indianapolis minus 225. I'm not a big Danny Nichols fan, so I don't think they're going to all of a sudden turn it around, even though they should really have a halfway decent team. And then the last one, Denver minus 115.
Okay.
I think you are going to get. There won so many close games, low scoring games last year. The natural regression, second year quarterback that pays plus 674.
Okay. Here's one that I like as well. It's got 6 legs. Okay, and they're very chalky. Okay. Tennessee to miss the playoffs. New Orleans to miss the playoffs. Raiders to miss the playoffs. Patriots to miss the playoffs. Steelers to miss the playoffs. And the Bears to miss the playoffs at plus 659, Scotty.
659. All right. The one that I think would get you would be the Bears, if I had to pick one.
Over the Steelers, huh?
Yeah, let's use best case scenario for all these teams. Tennessee's not making the playoffs, right?
All right,
Even the Raiders.
So
it
if
would
I
be the
take
Bears.
the Bears out of it, it's plus 378. Better?
Yeah, but I'd keep the Bears in to double my odds.
Right.
I'm not
That's
doubling
what I'm
them that
saying.
much.
Right, not double them, but at least you have a little more bite. On $100,
Yeah.
it pays $700 at least. $200, you're looking more at $1,400. That's still more bang for the buck than what you're looking at plus 358, and to tie it up for basically 8 or 9 months. Right, that's the problem when you make these. Is that's why I like some of the plus money. Where if you think you're getting a good value on a team, like in my opinion in Atlanta, to make the playoffs, you make the bet now, and they get a hot start, those odds are going to change. I wonder if FanDuel will do this throughout the year, like where they keep the market open. You think there's some market they keep open, or do you feel like they potentially close it after 1 or 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would, you could adjust the odds. I marvel that sometimes they have bets and then other times they don't have bets. So I would think they would keep this open.
It is interesting.
It is, each win it would change a little bit, like everything else, right? They keep the over-unders open on win totals. That adjusts as every week goes by. So if they're going to keep that open, then I would think they would keep this open.
Yeah,
I got one more. I got a long shot for you. Not a super long shot, but a long shot to not make the playoffs. Minnesota minus 180.
Not bad.
I like that. All right. Washington at even money. I do think tougher schedule this year, a little regression.
Okay. All right.
San Fran at plus 140. And I think, as we talked about, and then I'll throw Detroit in there as well at plus 210.
Wow. So not just one, but two of the top favorites in the NFC outside the defending champ, Philadelphia Eagles, to not make the playoffs. And what does that pay?
38-1.
That's a great number. You have time is on your side. That's the one thing, right? You get one injury, unfortunately, for either one of the starters, and we're not hoping on that, but that would make that bet in a heartbeat where all of a sudden, you have one major injury. And that's why I think it is good to maybe take a bet on some of the favorites, because we don't know, right? Stafford's been injury prone. Jordan Love's been injury prone. Who else? Kyler's been, injury prone. So you don't know. Tua, obviously, for the Dolphins, right? Are they going to make it through a full season? Lamar, you could put Baltimore in there. Without Lamar Jackson, for the most part, Baltimore's not going to the playoffs, even though Derrick Henry's there. The significant drop-off in quarterback play would keep them out for the most part. Same thing with Buffalo and Josh Allen, although he's the Iron Man when you look at it. What about Kansas City to miss out, Scott? What if we did that?
I thought about that. I did, but man, it's still Mahomes. But I don't think they're going to be as good. I don't know what this loss does. When you're so successful and you win so many Super Bowls and then you lose one, you have the motivation to win 3 in a row. No one's ever done that, and that fails. And then it's like, all right, we got to go back to square one again, and now we got to win. Like, they won Super Bowl. That's not the incentive. They were looking for a challenge, right? And winning 3 in a row was the challenge. So now they got to go it's like those ladder plays. When you double your bet and you get to like step number 7 and then you lose and you're like, oh, I got to go all the way back to step 1 again. So say that with Kansas City, right? We got to go all the way back to winning 1 Super Bowl. Almost like that doesn't count anymore. So it's hard to bet against Kansas City, but it wouldn't shock me. Andy Reid, 1 year older. Is he still motivated? On paper,
3-1, fourth best number. Or fourth worst number, depending on it. 3-1 behind the Eagles, Baltimore, and Buffalo. So the book believes obviously Baltimore and Buffalo, stronger teams this year, even though Kansas City's been to the AFC Championship, seven of the last years? Last 7 seasons? So,
but I will say this, the other thing, Joe, for them to not make it is that they're finally, in the division that's actually halfway decent now. For the last 3, 4, 5 years, Raiders been awful, Denver's been awful, and the Chargers have been, okay, obviously, but not, they should be obviously better with Harbaugh. Raiders have showed a little something with Gino. At least they're not the pushover as they were before. And then obviously the Broncos have turned things around. So that all leads into maybe things not going the right way. Maybe you're not going to go 5-0 or 5-1 or even 6-0 as they've done in the division.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, right? And you look at the quarterbacks that are in the division now, experience for Geno Smith, Justin Herbert, and Bo Nix. Always the potential where maybe Kansas City struggles. Won a lot of games in the final couple of minutes, very close matchups. We'll see if they could do it this season. We'll come back, we'll wrap it up. Maybe some trivia coming up next on Football Full Circle.
Luck is winning the lottery. Strategy is settling your divorce before cashing in the ticket. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and Sirius XM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Money Line at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. It's stark but true. You can either listen to SportsGrid for strategies, odds, and more, or you can pay your bills by digging in your couch cushions for change. Just be sure to wear gloves. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, we're going to continue to put together parlays throughout the week. Scott and I will be here tomorrow. We'll get some other things cooked up, but we've been doing some trivia as it relates to the player props for 2025. So this player last year, Scott, completed 65% of his passes, 3,864 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Want to take a guess on the quarterback that it is?
3,800 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Oh, I know. C.J. Stroud.
Nope. Brock Purdy.
Nope.
And his number, Scotty, here's interesting. His number this year, 3850 and a half. Didn't move at all. What do you think about that? When we think about all the regression from some of the top quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, 700 yards. Dak Prescott, 600 or 700 yards. Joe Burrow, 800 yards. Pat Mahomes, 400 or 500 yards. The fact that Brock Purdy stayed basically even and didn't even move based off of last year's production tells you what?
I don't know, because all the others were generally lower. So they think that much of Brock Purdy that they're going to make it the same, or is his number so low that they can't go any lower? You get a healthy Christian McCaffrey, he's not going to be throwing the ball as much. You get less receivers, trading Deebo Samuel away. I don't know what they really, they supposedly want to re-sign him, but again, they haven't. Last year of his contract. So it's in a technically walk year, I suppose. But they could obviously franchise him if they wanted to. I think I'd stay away from that.
I think I would sell it. I think I would sell that. I don't know. It seems odd to me, right? Why is it exactly almost the same amount that he had last year? And if you're expecting them to be stronger, right, meaning health-wise, with all the injuries, he should be 3,900 or 4,000, right? Why is he priced even? I think I would sell that number, Scott.
I think I would go under.
To look at, right?
Yeah. Doesn't smell right. And like I said, if McCaffrey can stay healthy, then they'll be throwing the ball less anyway, since he missed a good portion of the season. They had to throw a little bit more. So yeah, that's a rare one where I think I would go under with him. Funny, those numbers are very similar to C.J. Stroud. I know Stroud had like 20 and 12. That's why I thought for sure it was him.
Yeah. So we brought up George Pickens at the start of the show, right? Being traded from Pittsburgh to Dallas. They tacked a total on his receiving yards. FanDuel, 950 and a half. 950 and a half minus 114 either way.
I think I'd go under. I think I know a lot of he stinks. I'm not a big fan of his. I mean, theoretically, he should do well because, again, they got CD now on the other side, so he's not going to get all the attention that he got in Pittsburgh. And you got a quarterback this year that can throw the football to him, unlike maybe last year with Russell.
Cooper Rush.
But, yeah.
But I was just saying, Cooper Rush was hurt, took over for Dak. So, right.
But
it's
Dak
Russell Wilson. Right.
Yeah. So, he should, but 1,000 yards. I mean, listen, it's not easy to get 1,000 yards. Our boy Tyreek Hill didn't get 1,000 yards last year.
If George Pickens is at 950, would you make then what? CD at 1,100?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
1150. Right? Yeah. So CD last year, and he was hurt towards the end of last season, 1,194 on 101 receptions. He's blown through that number of 1,100 in 4 straight years. 1,102, 1,359, 1,749, and 1,194. I think I might take his touchdowns this year, Scott, as opposed to the yardage for CD. If you give me something, touchdowns, he's only got one double-digit season where he's got 12 back a couple of years ago. Last year was 6, 2022 was 9, 21 was 6, and 2020 was 5.
Wow. What do you think it'll be? 7? Nah, it can't be 7, right? It's got to be
9.5.
9.5, something like that. Not 10. A little surprising, right? You think these guys would get more touchdowns than that in 18 games?
Maybe they make it 8.5. If they made it 8.5, which would be right in line, I think I might jump on that total. We'll see. Yeah. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. We'll be here right here on Football Full Circle. For Scott Wetzel, Danny Ohlers, I'm Lisi. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
You found the advantage for gaming, odds, and more. But we call it the winning edge for short. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.